We just lived.
Lived.
Lived. Oh, you know, it's always good to start off. Still don't have chat running. I love that.
Awesome. I got mine running.
Well, that's just what are you trying to say? You're more special than me?
More special? I don't know if I'd choose that.
More special. Special. More special. That is why can't is that derogatory? You can't say more special now than someone?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not
Well, there's that. More special is now a thing. I'm gonna coin more special.
More special.
More special. Why not?
I don't know.
That kind of a day, huh?
Yeah, you know.
Must be tough. Thursday. That's the way it is, right? All right, what do you say to 20 seconds? I say 20 seconds sounds like a good day to me. How about you?
20 seconds is a standard unit of time. I like it.
All right. Now we're at 15.
Okay.
10. 5. Oh my. 3, 2, and oh, look at that. Thanks, Harris Heller, for the music, and welcome to Not Your Average Show. Mike here, and below in the remote location over here is Corey. Say hello, Corey. What's going on, brother?
Oh, wait. Oh, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good. Trying to figure which way to point.
You can't really figure this out. It's weird.
No.
It's like we're on little capsulizations of the Brady Bunch because we do two shows from here where Corey normally sits in this lovely studio, but we do one remote show to ease the burden of the workload that we have. And today is it's March 18th, 2021.
It is.
And
18th, 2021.
Yeah,
continues.
It does, and we've got some stuff, some news for you. We got something coming up. I think it's Monday, right? What are we looking at for Monday? Opening news.
Well, possible launch on Monday.
Possible launch. I believe we're looking at the Starlink 21 from here at Cape Canaveral, which we look to have our live setup running as normal. I think it's like a 6:50 something launch PM, right?
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to that. We also have, I got some follow-up information for you on, well, last night I actually played the game that I said looked really cool, which that is, God, now it's Circuit Superstars. And let me tell you something, there seems to be there will be more to come on that, because
I do not have it, but I am considering getting it. It looks really cool.
So that one is something that I'm looking forward to bring you guys more information on. I played it last night for about an hour. I was going to live stream it on my full OLED channel, but I didn't because I really just wanted to enjoy the game. And I can tell you that my time so far has been 100% enjoyable. So that's another thing that we're looking out for. That said, I guess we have to go to some sad news to start off today's episode, which is unfortunate. And we'll just kick this out because it's a piece of news information. And unfortunately, it happens in the world. But if you follow the legend of Top Gear, if you follow racing in general, Queen of the Nürburgring, actually Sabine Schmitz, she unfortunately passed away at the age of 51 with a bout from cancer. And if you guys do remember, she was part of the growing emphasis in the franchise of Top Gear. She appeared early, way back when, with Jeremy Clarkson, as she took him around the ring in a van, and or a couple other episodes, and they were widely viewed around the globe. She also participated with the Top Gear crew once when Chris Harris and others took over, and she's somebody that I admired. And if you ever watch some of those episodes, if you're like me, you're sad to hear that she passed. So that's unfortunate.
Yeah, and just touching that too, she's was the first woman to win the 24 of Nürburgring in a Beamer. She drove a Beamer.
Yeah,
so
BMW M3.
She was a good wheel. You know, she could drive. So that was
So to hers, Godspeed. Hope everything turns out well for you and your family, and which is probably a tough time for you guys. But then again, we enjoyed your entertainment while it was out there, and by all means, if you guys have any comments on that below, please leave them below and pay a nice respect to her, because she was part of the driving community. So it's unfortunate. Then we have some also other news on stuff here. Corey's just going to touch on quickly. I believe SLS has got something going on today.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So just I won't spend too long on it. Basically, but it's NASA's Artemis hot fire test. So if you guys remember, they're testing the core stage of the SLS system out in Mississippi. If you guys recall, the first hot fire or green run test of this was supposed to go a certain amount of time. It didn't even go hardly that long. They had some automatic shutdowns, and so it didn't go really quite to plan. But they've done some reworking of everything, and it's back ready to go. Actually, and today, in actually 50 minutes from right now, so 3 p.m. Eastern daylight time, as it would be since we've had a time change. But 3 p.m. Eastern time, which makes it 1900 GMT or UTC. There will be a live stream on NASA TV. You can watch it with us, or we'll be watching it too later.
Yeah.
But it's one of those I wanted to mention because we're obviously into rockets. We're into testing. It is the SLS system, regardless of how you feel about the SLS system. It's still a big rocket.
Your personal opinions.
Make a lot of noise and a lot of thrust. So hey, man, you gotta check it out. So
it's unfortunate. It goes without mention that recently it was announced that they're probably not going to have any missions that were going to be performed on the SLS rocket system because they're kind of losing part of their funding. And it looks like the Falcon Heavy is slated now to take over that position. But still, I love it because it's the old shuttle engines. That's, for me, that's the big thing.
They are, yeah, if we've mentioned, they're the actual shuttle engines, like components of the same ones. And and actually, if you guys follow us enough that you've seen our live streams of launches out on the coast, we've done a few of those as well. In the background of just the last one, we were pointing out that really bright pad in the middle of the frame from the last launch was the pad they're redoing for SLS. So, I mean, we'll keep covering SLS if it's gonna go make noise and go places. We'll be around.
Well, there,
we'll see.
I would imagine.
We'll see.
I really, would be really curious to see, Corey, and because it's hard for other people to understand the difference in volumes of rockets when they actually take off from Cape Canaveral, right? And the shuttle was because of the solid rocket boosters in and of itself. The shuttle was loud, and I'm just wondering how, minus the boosters, how loud the SLS is on its own as an individual stage when it's test fired, and if it ever goes back into space, how loud it is compared to, say, a Falcon, because a Falcon tends to be relatively, in some efforts, quiet compared to what the shuttle is.
So I mean, the SLS core stage, like the one they're testing today, is as you mentioned, doesn't have, it's kind of like if you were to take the old shuttle days, take away the orange fuel tank, the big orange fuel tank, and just make like that the core stage. If you guys are unfamiliar, that's kind of like what SLS would be, really, really roughly saying. But the Artemis or the SLS launch system, when it's the full stack, will be the core stage, which is liquid fueled, and that's what they're testing today. And just like Mike was saying, the old solid rocket boosters, or the SRBs on the shuttle days, they have their own personality, let's call it, and they're really cool to watch take off. But actually, when SLS goes full stack and launches, well, supposedly, when it does launch with all of its components, it'll have the SRBs on it as well. So it should be loud. It should be a show. It should be a show. Yeah.
See what happens.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Hey, folks, we just wanted to touch on those newsworthy items just for you to start off. But we do have to follow up with some conversations and moving into another discussion. Yesterday, we spoke exclusively about the fact that we've been covering the battery day that was Volkswagen's new deal on following up with their Accelerate program and their Trinity project and their creation of their sweating of Tesla in their gigafactories. Well, it seems like the group is now plagued with the electric bug because as we see here, it looks like the Audi CEO is now saying that they're saying no new combustion engines. And in the not too distant future, it will be Audi's position to depart any future development. And they don't see themselves participating in developing anything else. And now they're looking to put everything into new electrical powertrains. So following this strategy, and this is kind of an ongoing thing now at this point, that Volkswagen has bowed out of racing. We're anticipating that Audi will be back into racing at some level here in the not too distant future. There's a link to the article below. But this spells a marked change in the direction of the Volkswagen Audi group as a whole, as they take on the stance that, look, they've had success with their Taycan in the Porsche group. Okay, I guess this also will have some sort of impact in the not too distant future for Lamborghini and other brands that are owned down the line. But what do we make of this one, Corey? Because as it dovetails into what we had as a conversation yesterday, interesting to see that internal combustion seems to have its head on the chopping block.
Yeah, at least for Audi, and possibly that whole group under VW, of course. Obviously, as you mentioned with Power Day just yesterday and today, of course. I mean, looking through this, you can see that they're talking about that they're not going to say that current engines are will stop being produced and refined. Later generations of engines that are currently out, just no new engines. So they're probably looking at that 2025 kind of thing, that range
Right.
of saying, around then we're going to be all electric. And
Eerily familiar.
I don't know. I mean, you guys watching the video out there in the world, I mean, that have either had Audis or want Audis or whatever. I can imagine there's some people going, "Whoa,
Well,
whoa,
e-
whoa! I like my Audi."
right?
Like, where? What? Hold on.
So here's the other problem. Audi's first foray, this e-tron that everybody's so pumped up about, is really nothing more than a lightly reskinned Taycan. And I understand,
Mhm.
look, if you want to go back into the annals of the auto industry, and you used to remember Pontiac would rebrand a car as a Buick,
Oh,
Chrysler
geez, yeah, that's
Chrysler
yeah.
famously had Plymouth as a brand, and Dodge, that they would basically be lightly reskinned versions of each other, but if you went back and look under the skin, it's the same damn car. And moving into the electric future, I understand that the cost analysis outweighs the fact of producing a whole and entire new electrically based model to bring to the same marketplace, considering that you'd
Mhm.
almost figure that Audi and Porsche are still competing in some areas with each other,
Right,
right?
right.
For that
Yeah.
same dollar value. So to see the whole group as a whole take this is like a flood of information from that entire group with battery day, so on and so forth. I really don't know what to make of it because, like you said, they're not saying they're not going to have internal combustion engines. They're just not going to develop any new ones. That's a big
Mhm.
step. That's a huge step.
That is. That is. And initially when I read that, I was thinking, okay, maybe they're saying they're not going to make any more, but they're maybe going to use them from some other place, source quote newer engines, new power plants, combustion power plants from somewhere else. But I mean, I don't think that's the case now, thinking about it, because that's not their mentality. You can see that being the case when they talk about building gigafactories for the batteries.
Hmm.
They are now committing themselves to being fully self-sufficient, like supply
Sure.
chain, product development, and actually implementation of everything too. So I think this is kind of just knock on of what you said about Power Day and their latest, well, not latest, I guess, but their direction, their strategy in the next 5 to 10 years of where they want to be. And this kind of lends credence to the fact that when we talked yesterday about their plans to put in charging
Hmm.
stations in a lot of
Sure.
places in multiple
Yeah.
countries, I think that's really a big
Telling.
piece of what they're going to be
Yeah,
doing.
it,
I
it
mean, not
is.
that we can see Tesla already realized that's a big component if you want adopters to do such a
Right.
thing. But I think, Audi and at least, the VW family is they're going all in. We talked about them going, quote, "all in electric" yesterday.
Well, you see, but here's the
This just
difference.
further compounds it, but
Here's the
yeah.
difference, though, and this goes back to when you go all in, right? And you tell me that this is going to be your new electric strategy, and this is how you want to handle things going forward as the Volkswagen Audi group moves forward, right? Then that it's kind of foolish to me that if you're going to make a first step into that with one of your major luxury brands, which obviously goes up against Mercedes, goes up against
Mhm.
Cadillac, goes up against the
Beamers.
BMW, and
Mhm.
you throw the e-tron out there, and it's not its own individual platform. It's clearly a Taycan just reskinned. It kind of like makes me shudder a little bit to think that, well, they're going to develop all these great battery strategies and so on and so forth. Have they learned nothing from Dieselgate, that they have had moments where Audi has not really recovered, or excuse me, Volkswagen hasn't recovered their image yet? And look, even Audi had its own plague of problems in the early 90s, late 80s, when they were the fastest selling luxury car on the market. They just happened to have a bunch of people have unintended acceleration events and so on and so forth. And it just seems to me
Yeah.
that I like the developed strategy, I like the battery approach, I like everything else, but then the first step out the door with an e-tron, and I think you blunder it with a rebadged Taycan. Just me. We did a video on it, guys. Go check it out. It's
Yeah, we'll
we
see.
we made fun of
Yeah.
the fact that they really didn't do very much to hide it, but they, I hope it doesn't become their new strategy is to just rebadge stuff and just throw it down the line and just say, well, this is new. Well, that's great.
And exactly, just final for me too, touching on just what you just said about rebadging.
Hmm.
I just have to wait and see when they talk about they're gonna make a unified battery technology, unified battery form
Hmm.
factor for all the group. that tells me there's a lot of reuse there. Not that there maybe shouldn't be, but I mean, I really, I'm talking about like implementation.
Sure.
We've seen in the past some makers go batteries and go skateboards, and I talked about this yesterday. I won't go too much into it now, but the fact that we talked about skateboards on battery designs, meaning they can take the wheels and the suspension, and then there's like a bottom tray that holds the batteries and the motors, and boom, that's your like skateboard platform, and then companies put whatever they want on top of it.
Right.
Are we gonna exactly like you said? If we see other cars, like if you take the old Ford Explorer and then you take the Mercury Mountaineer, they're like the same thing.
Wait,
The same thing. So are we gonna see like an Audi and then a VW being like, well, I like your Audi, blah blah blah, but my VW is literally the
it's
same car
thing.
with
Look,
a different body on
if
top.
people don't know, my GTI, okay, my 2015 GTI is on the NQB chassis. Underneath, it is an Audi A3. It's the same. It's the same chassis underneath. However,
Mhm.
okay, the components that sit atop it and some of the changes that they made, except for the power plant is the same, but the window lines and everything else are markedly different. Okay.
Mhm.
And I understand the cost effectiveness of doing this, right? And it's not gonna,
Of course, of course.
yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
unified. It makes a lot of sense, and I understand that part. Look, Tesla has made a inroads in the fact that they're able to use the way that they've structured their battery tray design. That they've basically used very similar designs, but they've upscaled that or downscaled it as necessary to fit the models in their lineup. Right? I'm concerned. Just saying, I'm concerned because there's value into an already existing brand that you can damage if you don't do this approach properly, which Tesla doesn't have to really worry about because the only thing they're worried about is building a brand. People will forgo a couple of blunders when you've already made yourself a major player in the electric market where it didn't exist before. So
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
two
yeah.
different approaches. The way
Yep.
that my mind
Yep.
logically approaches that conversation, just two totally different things. So
Cool.
anyhow,
Cool.
hey folks, if you like what we have to say, remember, like, subscribe, follow, and by all means join in the conversation. That's what the live stream is about. And if you get a chance, drop us a comment below, and we have a link to everything that we've discussed so far in the description. And with that said, Corey is going to kick it off with, hey, some air taxi news from the Far East and other areas.
Yeah, exactly. So, welcome back to the Not Your Average Show, talking about air taxis. And with this one here, I'm just going to kind of lay it out there. This news is about the Chinese air taxi company EHang. And so I don't recall us talking about this company on our channel yet.
Not yet.
But I have seen them in a lot of the news for air taxi stuff, EV tolls, and just hadn't really kind of talked about them yet. So if you guys are unfamiliar, EHang is out of China, and they did a lot of like smaller drone stuff before, and now they're in like the air taxi, obviously upscaling their kind of their expertise in their drone market stuff, and doing people transport, and they're calling it an autonomous aerial vehicle, an AAV. So they're really moving into the autonomy part of the whole thing. But anyway, for the I guess the noteworthy part there, and then we'll talk about a bit about the brand, was that the China's air taxi company EHang aims to build their first vertiports, which we mentioned as well. Those vertiports for eVTOL vehicles. They're going to build their first ones in Italy, and actually have already partnered with an architect to design the vertiports for Italy. So they're obviously already making steps. They haven't just said, "Oh, we want to do this." They're already, they're doing stuff. So I really wanted to kind of bring it up because we've, again, keeping track of EHang, obviously out of China. Well, now they're not in just China; now they're moving around. So I said, okay, fine. They're moving to Italy. Let's bring it up and chat about it. But I think some things just to keep in some perspective. If you have the link to the Transport Up page,
I do. Yeah, it's been up.
Yeah. The Transport Up where it shows the 216 model. That's the main one that what I'm kind of talking about, and that a lot of the tout is. And if you scroll down a bit, you guys will see some of the specs. So it's something to just keep in mind that while it's there's a set of rotors, kind of like a quad, but a drone, but with a person on board. It's 2 seats, and they're double stacked, so there's some redundancy there, of course. But something I want to kind of point out was it's supposed to be fully autonomous.
Supposed to be.
Cool. But the top speed and the range is something just to know of. The top speed says it's only 80 miles an hour and a range of 22 miles. That's not kilometers. So it's going 22 miles with the maximum payload. So
the 22 miles though, right? 22 miles would
22 miles is a distance.
It's a distance that it could get you out of an epicenter of a city almost.
Sure. And I think that's what I'm kind of getting at when I talk about this is For what they're making this for, I think it will probably work because they're putting a lot of like public transport in like cities, and now of course in other countries, Italy, and I think they're going for like economies of scale here. Like they want to put multiple vertiports on like buildings and parks, and kind of like the Uber of air taxi in China. And while the range is not far,
Mm.
maybe it fits the bill for what they want to do there.
Well, I mean,
One thing I want to mention too, some interest from like Uber and other kind of public transport kind of things over in
mhm.
China, but also let me try to make sure I say this correct. Let's see. Um, yeah, they've got some backing by or some relationships with the local and national authorities for the CAC over there in China.
Not
So again,
surprised.
right. Well, I mean, not surprising, of course, because there's some possibility that they can do some good business there. But I guess what I'm saying is there's backing here,
Right. So look,
right?
even with
And
the backing
so
though,
yeah,
right? I'm looking at their infrastructure picture right here, which is these big inspired, tree
which one? Oh
inspired
yeah, yeah, that
landing
one. Yeah,
pads,
that one.
right? And
Sure. It's a
it's a lot. That's a lot of
concept.
infrastructure to put in for only 3 landing pads, so on and so forth, and 24,
Mhm.
miles of jump. So my imagination takes over, and I take a look, and I say to myself this, right? 80 miles an hour top speed. It only can go what
Sure.
24 miles. So that means at max you've got a flight distance of about 15 minutes maximum, right? That's
Mhm.
pushing it, right? Mildly. And at that point, you've already now the thing is this is going to have covered that distance, and then what? Does it drop a battery tray? Does it quick recharge? How many of these things have to be stationary before someone else that can get on board this thing and go on a return trip to another direction? And
Mhm.
those are going to be challenges that they have to meet. However, I'm intrigued again about this infrastructure picture that they show because I don't know if going with your own, it looks like this mushroom style tower is cost
Mhm.
effective to make those types of jumps because if you only have 3 of these pads there, you might have to have 3 towers with at least 9 of these devices and a huge parking lot below to make this of
Mhm.
anything worthwhile to average transit. Which, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But that to me sounds like a tremendous amount of infrastructure to put in place
Right.
to get that kind of return with only moving 2 people at a time.
Sure. And so just some other information, just kind of you talked about, charging and whatnot. It looks like if it's pretty much fully discharged, you can charge about all the way up in an
Hmm.
hour. So again, the turnaround is not that great for a flight that's that short.
Hmm.
Um, but again, I kind of wanted to just bring it up and show that there's some other things going on. I know we keep talking about some of the other players like Volocopter and Lilium and some of the other Ajabi, of course, and some of our other ones that are not fringe, but not don't have the backing yet. But I didn't want to discount the the ability that something like this could do, and moving from the east over to other
You know what's
places, I
interesting
guess.
though, and this makes perfect sense. I know people that have flown over in China in their helicopter industry, providing offshore gas and oil services, and I asked them what's it like to operate in China. He goes, it's the same thing as America. I said, why? He said, because they've copied the far aim almost verbatim.
Hmm.
So my
Hmm.
imagination again, when I think about this, I go, well, I'm sure that this device is almost perfectly suited to almost go for one implementation as is to fit the rules that they see might be fit for VTOL travel applied
Yep.
by the FAA.
Yeah, other
Yeah,
places.
I
Yeah.
still this one only because the range and the application.
Sure.
Again, I could see this working, say, like a New York City. I couldn't see it working.
Yeah.
I
Oh yeah.
couldn't see it working in Orlando or a Tampa or a Miami,
No,
right?
any place that's a sprawling community in the sense that it's spread out, I agree.
Yeah, tough.
It just doesn't have the endurance that I feel would be effective for. I mean, what would you? Okay, let's say you're in downtown Orlando and you want to go 20 miles, 15 miles, any direction
Right,
quickly. They're all direct.
right.
What would you pay for that?
I don't know because I know that unless I'm going on I-4, right? Unless I'm going I-4, the traffic's not going to. I could probably get away around the traffic, but where's 22 miles going to get me? And in some cases, it's going to get me in the middle of a swamp, literally.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I guess that's what I'm saying is
Yeah.
it was just as you said too. It's strategically where they're putting
Yes.
the services. And is there a market? Well, seems like there is, but it's gonna be another one of those, that just by its form factor and its technical specs. they have to figure out where to put it. But
I thought this was also
uh,
interesting. If you take a look at this picture right here, and there's actually, it looks like they put a crate underneath or some sort of wooden platform underneath the drone where it sits. Like, I was like, why don't you just put it down on the surface that you got, guys? Like, that's kind of interesting to me. Maybe it was just to protect it or present it, but I was like, hey, don't you think you'd put your?
yeah, I don't know what that's all
I don't know
about.
either.
I do see that that's in the front of the office of
Yes,
ICAO, which is interesting.
yes. Which
Um,
someone else is paying attention. Why don't we go into what ICAO is?
well, yeah, you can talk about it too. Let me see if I can find out some. Yeah, if you want to, I'll see if I can find some information
So
like
ICAO basically is the
about what their partnerships
Yeah,
are.
so ICAO is basically the
Let's see.
international standard in which everything that is flown globally goes through the applicable process of being approved for international travel. It's a standardization process, and the fact that this aircraft sits there means that they've obviously been in some sort of coordinated conversations with ICAO to get stuff approved. Um, so if there's a standard, like let's say you're going to fly an airplane from like the UK and you're going to fly back to the United States of America. Well, the charts and the things that are standardized on board so that everyone's speaking the same language, including the language that's supposed to be spoken over the radios, has to be agreed upon first. And ICAO is the organization that makes that happen. They're kind of that handoff. So that's kind of interesting there. So James chimes in. It's just a wood pallet. Maybe they're using it like to around with a fork truck, a forklift.
Oh, actually,
yeah.
If they didn't fly it there, yeah,
maybe
they
that's
just
what they did.
transported it that way.
Good answer. Thanks, James. You made that sound better. So, did you find anything on the relationship or no?
Yeah, so basically, this is an article. I just found something just now from August 2020, so not real old, but it says EHang joins ICAO's Ambular project as the first hardware partner. So this is actually, I hadn't heard about this project before, but it looks like it's a project from launched originally in 2018 by ICAO to basically find more urban ambulance services kind of thing. And apparently, EHang is the first hardware partner, rather, in that project.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
So there is some kind of from that picture, yeah, as we saw, there's some kind of partnership going on with ICAO and EHang.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. They're doing stuff with some players that you guys may or may not recognize, but some bigger players. Yeah, it's something to keep track of.
Cool. Hey,
what would you guys think if you're dying? You wanna would you want to get transport in one of these automated? I guess you're dying. Or
you don't know.
Dying,
you're just going for the ride, right?
Yeah.
Hey, so give him the outro so we can talk about other player situations.
Of course.
Yeah. The outro.
Yeah. No. So yeah, I mean, obviously we're obviously still looking at a lot of different air taxi stuff, eVTOLs. If it's the first time coming by, please like, subscribe, and follow, and share. Obviously, we cover a bunch of different stuff, including obviously air taxis and eVTOL news and technology reviews and all things aerospace. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Hey, so Corey just mentioned the word player. And playing on the word player, if you saw the movie Ready Player One, you're equally maybe excited to accept the new world of VR, not only into your own home, but into your own hands. And if you were, well, in case you lived under a rock this year, the Oculus Quest 2 became probably one of the hottest ticket items just prior to the holiday sales event in the newest and best-selling game consoles. So wouldn't take time for others to join in on what's basically looking like a cross between a VR, I guess, device and the new version of a Peloton. And guess what? Mark Cuban's on board. No joke, Mark Cuban from Shark Tank fame has joined in as a investor in what is Virtuix and their Omni system, which is supposed to ship this coming year. This is an article from October 7th. However, this is now apparently at the phase where they're ready to ship. And you guys can go check out the video on YouTube. Or you want me to play the video or no?
You can play it. I mean, while you're doing that, I'll just mention that the same company. This is the Omni 1 prototype. They had showcased some other things, like I think it was the Omni. There's another device that didn't have this kind of same backpack thing, but this is the kind of the, like, say, like your own, bring it home to your own,
right?
And I mean, technically, you use it at your house, personal. I don't even know what to call it.
Your home virtual Peloton.
It's not a workout. It's a I don't even know. What do you call this thing actually? Like,
Different?
is it? I mean, it's a workout. You're obviously going to get a workout because you're physically walking around, which is cool. Which is
Sure.
certainly cool. It gives you more immersion. Initially, when I was first watching this, I was like, okay, it's really cool for sure, right? But doing first-person gaming, there's some advantages to having just a controller, to not having to move with legs,
Right.
because you can do like snap spins sometimes, 90-degree turns and whatnot. Things you just can't do in real life. So it's quite novel, and I would love to try it out, obviously.
Sure.
But I think it might be maybe a detriment if you were on like competitive scene.
I don't
I
know.
have to say.
Look, I like the idea that look, there's and if you saw the movie Ready Player One, there's always been that underneath treadmill that was basically the whole gist of giving you the ability to feel like you're fluidly moving in a VR environment, yet not actually
Yep.
having to be in the uh, being able to move freely. And with this device, it looks like they're trying to conquer that with less moving parts and slippery shoes, right? And
Yeah, yeah,
obviously, to
yeah.
throw against that same ability, this swiveling device that actually sits around your body is how you actively control how you're going to move through this 3D universe. It's not a bad concept, and it's not lost on me. But again, the bulk, how much it actually is going to cost,
Mm-hmm.
how many games can be converted to operate within this system is using their mobility as the input, to me seems to
Yeah.
be one of those things that I'd be curious about, and how quickly they can get that library adapted on some of the hotter games, and who would participate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously,
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking all the like configuration stuff, right? Because like, so say when it's one in the video where the guy like crouches then kneels
mhm,
down, right? In a game, you'd be doing it with buttons, of
right.
course, right? Buttons or something like that. And in VR, of course, the VR can sometimes have out with that. But yeah, but I'm wondering how what happens when, like, say, I mean, you've been in plenty of simulators in your life, right? What happens when some of the potentiometers start having a spaz and you're like, I'm just trying to crouch behind the
Yep,
barrel. Oh, I just got
I
shot in
just
the head
got you on the head. You're
because
right.
the game won't crouch. And I can imagine somebody wanting to throw this, even though it's too big to throw. But you know what I mean? You did instantly want to throw it, and
Well, hey, look, there's
then you
also
don't want to play it anymore, and it's probably expensive to fix. I don't know. I'm just trying
who
to,
knows,
I'm
right?
just
But
wondering.
look, also in the advent of professional gaming, right? If you look at this as a device for professional gaming and some of these new VR leagues
Sure,
that people are
sure,
into,
sure.
right? Especially us, we have played Onward on our Oculus Quests, and I use a Pro
Oh
Tube.
yeah,
And look,
oh
I
yeah.
get the whole thing that the VR saturation in this market and the explosion of Peloton and keeping people healthy and active is a great attitude to have, no doubt, right?
James.
But throwing, I saw what James said, but throwing banana peels under your feet and doing it this way, unless it comes in at a cost effective measure, okay, you're still forced to deal with some immersive technology issues. Like, what if you want to go prone in a shooting game, right?
Yep,
Does
yep.
everyone want to run in a virtual environment when they can just run outside? There's other challenges to be met here. Although I would love to see what their library is, because on the review side, they are getting rave reviews from the people that have tried this. Now, it's easy to
Yep.
drum up investor, I would say, sure, if you want, and produce some
Sure.
coolly edited videos and bring that to market. But James brings up a great point. How many old guys are going to be out there running around and try to get on this thing that can do this and be actively participating at this level for more than a few minutes? Because hey, your average Joe Cola drinker is not going to get on this thing and perform like a star, and he's going to be immediately at a disadvantage when he can't run that fast, right?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, take freaking Ninja, put him on one of these things, and then have a whole him on one team, and then all his buddies on a team, and then everybody on the other team with just
Right.
controllers, and have a really long game going, and see how long it takes till they're physically, like, winded, and you're getting some adrenaline, and now you can't aim as well. I mean, that's physically, you're physically doing a lot more
Right.
than, like I said, with a controller, and
And who has space to put
yeah.
this in certain areas? Number one, and number two. Look, they're looking for $15 million to be raised at this point. It says right here on they're 85% of their goal. They're at 12 million bucks, right? And they got 15 days to finish this investment cycle, which it sounds like that they've gone their own outside Kickstarter ways, right, to get this done.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
Yep.
not gonna lie, I would love to try it.
Of
If it,
course, of course.
and I'm sure if I came back and I said this is really the next level of gaming, we're
Mhm.
still at some levels limitations with the VR world. With obviously, there's the fact that some of these VR headsets, unless they're connected to major gaming computers, they cannot create these articulate worlds like you're used to seeing on consoles. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two is
Yep.
the silk screen, or the screening effect, the screen door effect that you get inside these VR headsets. In some cases, becomes a little of a distraction because you get to see the pixels a little bit more. And then lastly, I
Yep.
think the biggest one is the solo gaming experience, which means if you're sitting in your living room, unless you have a big screen TV behind you like this gentleman does, not everybody
Yeah,
else gets
sure.
a chance to participate and see it unless you have an active way to stream it to the rest of the members that are sitting in the room.
Yep.
Challenges, I
Yep.
think.
Which actually, it's funny you mentioned that. That's just 2 days ago. I was trying to do exactly that. I was playing VR with my friends, one of them being you, and I was trying to cast my headset to the TV and discovered that the game we were playing, which was which we could talk about, I guess, which is pretty cool in early access.
Onward, yep.
Onward, pretty
Mhm.
cool, pretty cool VR game for FPS guys. I was having problems with the microphone, which we sorted out. But then I figured out if I was casting, then I still had problems with the microphone.
Yeah.
These are bugs, sure. But what you're getting at there is there's some computing power being used to stream it.
Right.
And as you said, it's an all-in-one. Currently, like the Quest 1, Quest 2, they're not tethered to a PC.
Mhm.
So all the heavy lifting's done on device. And yeah, so you're losing literally some performance of your play just to stream it to everybody else. And again, yeah, it's as far as being competitive.
Here's what I want. Here's
yeah.
what I want now, right? This would be the ultimate. An FPV racing simulator in VR on a motion platform.
Mhm.
Or you could just fly a plane.
I'm still on the thought that an augmented reality like a mixed reality augmented headset
Right.
is the way to go.
Okay.
Especially with like Sims, like what you have. Literally, you could have that seat you have, like your Sim,
Right.
and then you could put like iPads and stuff that have like maybe like barcodes, placeholders,
Sure.
where the headset would know what's supposed to go there,
Sure.
and then you look down
And you see that.
and you can see your hands.
Right.
You can
biggest
see
problem.
the yoke or whatever. You can see the wheel. Then you can see the iPad, which is the MFD, which is all in device, and you can interact with it because it's mixed reality. I mean, I think
Quest,
that's
right. Here's the Quest.
I think that's the way to
That's
go.
the way to go, and I think you're right because it has these little cameras on it, and if you double tap, if you enable this in the headset, you double tap, you get a pass through capability where you get almost an AR representation. Now, I think it was the holodeck from Microsoft that was working on probably the most realistic implementation.
Oh, the HoloLens.
HoloLens.
Yeah.
Thank you for correcting me.
Yep.
However,
Yeah, no.
not to be outdone though. When you're looking at FPV drones, though, then you have something like this bad boy, which is dual screens. And honestly, it's really strange because you would think that you would just maybe use a Quest style headset with to do the same, but these are high refresh monitors, and there's two of them, and they're crystal clear. And this one is a little bit diluted in its representation because it's basically only being powered by an Android device. However, I'd be interested to see what we could do in the not too distant future with something like this. And you're right. I think augmented reality has a huge place because I've sim raced in my rig before, both in virtual reality and with the screens. But when you can't see your hands and you're going to go shift or do something, or if you're going to go fly in VR and you've got to somehow break that representation to look down and grab the stick or hit a button or swing the gear or something,
it just ruins
it. Does. It really disturbs the environment. But in this one, if they're making the application properly towards a specific set of motion play games, hopefully it can satisfy the market. But a great comment there is, don't you think they could adjust it so that you could walk and have it be running? Kind of would. I think that would defeat the point of the physicality. Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, I look at this, and the more I look at it, I feel like I know I've seen something like this before. I can't remember what it is. Hold on, let me.
So if it might have been the thing in the 90s, right? Back in the 90s, there was this early VR headset that if you guys tried in a local mall, you could put it on and you could basically fire arrows. You could shoot at velociraptors, and there was a dinosaur or something involved. If I remember, it was Virtuix something or other, the headset company. But you're thinking about the motion-based platform, right? The one that the track
you could run it as well, and it had like rollers.
Yes, that's the one that I'm talking about. And it's spun, and it's actually functional. The only problem is more moving parts. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, it was you could just walk on it with your normal shoes because it had literally those like rollers, like big rollers, and you just walk normally. You can tell obviously on the one we're talking about today, it's got the rollers, whatever wheel. The balls are in the shoes, your special shoes. Um, so maybe that's better for long time use.
Don't
I
know.
don't know.
You know, how about that shirt? Does that shirt get sweaty? Can you wash it when take it off that pole? Does it
Yes,
have
it
haptics?
must get sweaty.
It's got to,
certainly.
right? Lots of questions.
I imagine it must be haptic. You must feel the shots hitting you if you get hit. I mean, why? I mean, there's already stuff that does that. So
I just
how immersive you want this to be? And I mean, the price just keeps going up.
and what if you lose your balance inside the conical shape there and fall over? Are you suspended? Are you suspended just like sitting there with your face swinging? You know, like
if you get
endlessly.
you get really ambitious and you jump and you got big steps. You're like jumping over a barrel and you forget you're on this platform, and then you're like one leg's off the end in real life, and you're like, you know, it's a comedy of errors as you are hanging off this vest.
We're not trying to really knock it. What we're just trying to say is that, look, for the VR entrance, look, VR was all but dead until the Quest 2 came out. No offense. When the Quest 1 came out, it was an interesting position. I have the Go. Me and Corey got the Quest at nearly the same time. And then to look at what happened in the VR market, everyone all but considered it dead. This is a resurrection of basic VR to a degree where let's see if it can make the jump into a Peloton. Who knows? Don't know.
Yep.
Hey, what I do know though is that Corey's got more to talk to you guys about. So what I'm going to do is say, hey, if you get a chance, like, subscribe, and follow for here at the average, not your average show. And remember to, if you get a chance and you're watching this one, just scroll over there and hit the like button. And we'll bring you more content like this as we can, and only we can, because we don't do anything above or below average. We need a tagline.
How was that show? Or when we do, I'm looking forward a little bit to our product reviews. YouTube, because at the end I know there's going to be something like, so how average is this product, Mike? And you'd be like,
is it average?
It's pretty average. And I'll be like, well, it's kind of below average for me because it doesn't really do this and that. And then like, oh, but the next thing, that's way above average, man. This is the average rating is high,
right?
Or whatever, however we want to do that.
Above average.
It could be fun.
Yes,
but I don't know.
So hey, but you know what could be fun, Corey, at this time?
Go in the movie?
Sure. That would be excellent. So with that said, Corey's got something else to talk to you about with the favorite of the movie bunch there.
Excellent. So the next thing I want to talk about is MoviePass. Back from the dead, apparently, question mark, maybe not sure. We'll find out.
Is it?
All of those. So basically, it's from New York Post. It basically says, is MoviePass coming back? There's a countdown clock on the website.
3 days and 21 hours is what it says.
Question mark. I don't know what that really means. So the question is, if you guys are unfamiliar, MoviePass was something where you could buy a membership, and using this MoviePass, you could go to a movie theater in your area that was participating in MoviePass, and you could see a whole bunch of movies for whatever rate package you picked at the time. The wife and I did early adopters in MoviePass, and so we saw a buttload of movies.
What's a buttload?
For the membership. It was,
is that more than a plethora?
I mean, oh man, like 40, 50, I mean, bunch of movies. We saw some movies multiple times because, hey, we like the movie, want to go again. We had a really comfortable movie theater, a few of them around, where those seats, they're like recliners, like sofas.
Nice. Very nice.
And, but anyway, I mean, I think you know this too anyway. I think you went to a few, but you get the idea. It was pretty nice, and then they had some money problems and had to change some of the memberships around, and then eventually declared bankruptcy. But anyway, the news there is that MoviePass.Ventures is only registered pretty recently, I guess, and that's where the clock is, countdown clock. And it says on the countdown clock, the movie is about to start.
That's it. All it says right here.
That's really what we know about it.
Movie's about to start.
So
in 3 days.
Okay, and my thought was there. Okay, so we know we're still trying to get over this pandemic thing. Not the volume of people going to movies is not as what it used to be, of course. So MoviePass must be trying something different here. So what's their shtick here? And I guess, are they trying to partner with, YouTube, HBO, Hulu, Netflix, all those kind of like distant streaming services, with the sense that you can get some kind of benefit there? I don't know, because as I was telling Mike before we started, I was like, okay, if MoviePass just comes back and does the same thing again, there's not the volume of people going to the movies that I think would make that viable now.
However, it might attract people to come back sooner. And look, if you're a movie theater, right? And we talked about this earlier. you're a movie theater and you have an empty concession stand, and if you have a new movie theater and empty food, empty bar, nobody's
I
purchasing,
get it.
right?
I get
Maybe the
it.
point is to attract them in, and maybe that's more likely that this is an inroad now to get people to come back to the movie theater at a lower cost so that these facilities don't go to waste. And that's the only thing that I could think of. That was it.
I mean, how much cheaper are you gonna make it? I mean,
I
I
don't
know
know.
movies, if you go to like IMAX movies, or any movie these days actually is pretty expensive.
Sure.
But I'm still, I hear you, man. I hear you, and those are certainly problems. Movie theaters are hurting. I know. I wonder. I guess we're gonna find out soon. But I really wonder. I wonder what MoviePass has up their sleeve,
What's
because
the break even
it
point
didn't
though,
go as
right?
planned last
What's
time.
the break even
What's
point?
that?
At what point would you as a consumer think that the dollar value would have to be on return? So if let's say they said, look, movie pass is now $30 a month, but you get unlimited
Yeah.
movies, right? Because that's the cost of 3 movies. However, you get unlimited. So now maybe you're going to the movies 4 or 5 times a month. So you're going maybe a Friday night, maybe a Wednesday night, you click in for a quick movie, and then so on and so
Sure.
forth. Okay. That might be worth it just to have the experience of getting people back into the movie theaters, right? That because look, let's face it, major motion picture releases happened at home. I think the first one that really took that
Oh
fall
yeah.
was Onward
Oh yeah.
from Disney, made the jump straight to Disney Plus.
Yeah, I
And
think even, I don't know how long has it been. One of the superhero movies went straight to, didn't it?
Wonder Woman. Wonder
Wonder
Woman,
Woman
right? What,
straight to
1984 was
yeah,
it?
HBO
Yeah, right.
Max.
So there's and look, I see that that's not going to happen because there were other major releases that were delayed, which was the new James Bond movie. It didn't make it to theaters because they delayed
Yep,
it.
yep.
Top
There's a
yeah,
bunch. Dune, which I really want to see.
Dune,
Dune's not
Top
coming out yet.
Gun, the new or Maverick, the second
Top
version of Top Gun
Gun
was supposed to
or
be out.
whatever. Yeah, whatever. Yep,
So
yep.
there's lots of things in the pending cycle, and I think there's going to be. And look, let's face it, movie production came back almost months ago, right? The movie production was
Yeah, they're making
they're
movies
making
now.
movies now.
Yep,
So there's going to be a
yep.
fresh batch of movies that all need to come out, and people need to have their butts in the seats ready to watch them. Otherwise, we ain't going to have a movie industry for very long. So,
I mean, what do you think? Do you think that the movie industry or the movie theaters are paying MoviePass some amount to get in on
they're
the,
they're
hey,
motivated. I
you know,
mean, look,
talk to go see AMC, because AMC is where MoviePass is, or whatever it might
sure.
be.
I mean,
You
AMC's
know?
stock I think has also gone to the roof because I think it was one of the old tricks of the investor group has been made them in play. But I also think it's because movie theaters are about to open again in California as well, and lots of people took a gamble on that stock was shorted. I think at some point as well, right? So I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think so.
Look,
Yeah.
a motivated buyer and seller condition. It's also going to be like, what are the airlines going to do in the not too distant future when people actually decide to get back into the air, right? Are they going to?
Oh, hold up. What is
What's
this?
what? What happened? Can't say.
I see that
You have me in suspense. What is it?
Mark Wahlberg's production company Unrealistic
Mm-hmm.
Ideas announced an upcoming docu-series
Aha!
on MoviePass.
There you go.
So if they announce an upcoming docu-series on MoviePass, that tells you MoviePass is a streaming service of its own.
Wow. So now the question would be: Is would MoviePass suddenly become a release point for not
Yeah.
in theater movie access, meaning that, hey, you're going to watch Maverick at home from your home theater on day of, but you're going to pay $50 to watch it,
Or something or whatever. Yeah, I see exactly that.
right? That could
Interesting.
happen. That would be interesting.
I can see that being a thing if they.
But you would have, but now here's the thing: a per seat basis, you would have to up the ante. Now, obviously, you'd have a very small exclusive group of people that have high end, high quality Dolby Atmos super theaters at home that would seat 9 people in the ideal conditions that would make this worth your while. Because let's face it, movies have upgraded their projection capability, their audio
Oh yeah.
capability. Going
Oh
to
yeah.
movies is now a little bit better of an experience than sitting at home because it's louder, it's brighter. There's really been that impact to keep people drawn in. So
Mhm.
I wonder, and that's a really good point. Makes you think.
Yeah, that's I hadn't seen. I guess I probably should have seen that coming. Talking about streaming
Hmm.
and everything, would just say, "Oh, MoviePass is gonna be the streaming service." But
Very nice.
interesting,
Hey, you know what also
interesting.
has to happen? we've got to do one other thing. We've got to end our live stream because our time is just about up. Hey.
Okay.
It's our Thursday, which makes it, excuse me, it's everyone's Thursday, which makes it our Friday. But we've got some other stuff that we're going to be working on. And I believe, is it still on for Monday, the launch, right?
I didn't see it on the calendar, but I hadn't heard any different.
So here's the deal. If the launch is still on for Monday, we will not be on at our normal time in Monday afternoon. What we will be doing is, though, starting our live stream probably sometime at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon in anticipation for a SpaceX launch. If it's not, we'll be back and we'll be talking to you guys on Monday. That's if it's not. So we'll see what's happening there. Corey's looking at an update. For some reason, the app has been terrible lately in giving us updates.
Says the 22nd at 6:19 p.m.
22nd, which is what?
Which is
Monday, 6:19 p.m.
Yep.
It'll be our first day launch.
And that will be, that's a daytime. That's still daylight. So yeah.
And right now, let's take a look at the weather for Monday. It looks like highs of 73, low of 55. Light winds. It could be an absolute gorgeous day to take in a launch.
It'll be an amazing launch.
Amazing. Well, folks.
Cool.
With that said, hey, thanks again for the support. Thanks for the subs. Thanks for following. We appreciate your time and energy. And about to get out of here.
Sounds good, man.
For the weekend. And we're going to do what we do is we're going to outro.
Outro.
See ya. Bye-bye.
See you Monday.
See you Monday. For the launch. For the win.
For the launch. Get launched.
What? Can you say that?
In the daytime?
Okay.
I don't know.
Can you?
Sure, why not?
Really?
Get launched?
I don't know.
Rockets?
Sure. Why not? We'll take it. See you.